Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. Thank you very much for taking a little bit of your time and spending it here with us on NAC TV. I'm Eoin Devereux, journalist with the Banner Press, welcoming you to the show pretty much each and every week, unless I get bored with you and decide to take the week off. But not this time, because we got too much good stuff to talk about in this week's edition. And speaking of that, joined with me almost as always as well, Casper Wehrhahn. Casper, good to have you here this week.
Good to be here, and there certainly is a lot of good stories to go through for this week's paper, so I'm eager to go through these with everyone that's joined us today.
And again, with the good stories, we also got a couple really nice visuals, and visuals are always a key component of any newspaper. The words are nice, but the old cliche is a picture's worth 1,000 words. So that's why we put those front and center on our front and center. Our front page this week, Bubbles of Wonder. A great little all-ages type of show. The Bubble Man, as he's known, did a great presentation during the Crocus Festival, which occurred over on the weekend. If I remember right, I think it was May 4th, Saturday, May 4th, in which it happened. From the bits and pieces I've heard, it was very well attended. Was not there personally in attendance, but Diane Warner, one of our staff here at the Banner Press, was able to go down there and get some really dynamic and interesting pictures. And we got a collage of them on the front page and carried over as well onto page 15. It does look like it was a fun little show, and you love to see that. And that's why you always got to remember to pick up a physical copy of the Banner Press and be able to see it for yourself, because just sitting here and doing this doesn't do the pictures justice. That's why you need to pick up a physical copy of the paper anywhere in 30 different communities around Western Manitoba. Always remember, though, if you can't get a physical copy, you can always find it online. We go live on our website, mywestmen.ca, each and every Friday at 9 a.m. Central Time, so you'll be able to see a digital version of the paper for yourself. And again, I mean, these types of things always look a little bit fun. Maybe I'm aged out of it a little bit, Casper, but it still does look like it's a bit of fun, even if it's not my demographic anymore.
No, absolutely. I mean, anytime the Bubble Man comes up, there seems to be raving reviews, as it were. I mean, I know in the past when I've spoken to some students who have attended different events that happen to have the Bubble Man there as entertainment, they're like, yeah, we got to see the Bubble Man. I was like, oh, there he is again, getting some new fans in there. And yeah, I mean, just looking at the photos here on the front page, and of course we have some inside the paper as well on page 15. I mean, it looks like the kids had a lot of fun. You can really tell the looks on their faces, especially this one kid we got here on the front page, sort of blowing towards the bubble that he's standing in and all that. It's quite awesome. Yep.
And maybe it's a case of, for rural Western Manitoba, the Bubble Man is our version of Doodles the Clown for Brandon. And if you're from Brandon or you've been to any sort of events in Brandon, you know that comment, you know that reference there. Good on you. So, but again, it's a lot of fun for the family and the kids, and that's a big part of it. So wonderful to see that event go over the way that it did. All right, let's get it inside the pages. We're going to get into a couple financials in this week's edition of the Banner Press. The most interesting and maybe the most positive of those financials is a story that you covered, Casper, in regards to some of the details and some of the results of the Farm and Leisure Lotto.
Yeah, so if people have been keeping track of it, you'll know that the Farm and Leisure Lotto has now wrapped up. That's been going on for a bit there, and it just had its final draw last week, depending when you're watching this here. But as of recording, last week. So we have the first prize winners and the 50-50 draw prize winner as well. Was very happy to see that it was more local individuals being able to come away with their prizes there. And so that was Ashton and Jamie Porrick for the 100,000 grand prize. And Phyllis, I believe last name is pronounced Adamic, or something close to that anyway. So that was 47,990, which, whew, that's quite nice.
That's all right, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
You could buy half a truck with that nowadays.
Certainly could. And I mean, I had the opportunity to speak with each of these winners, and I mean, it was a rainy day, but we had some shelter there.
Not for them.
Yeah, not for them.
It was a sunny day for them in a figurative sense, most definitely.
Yeah, we had them posed under the rotunda there. Of course, we're zoomed in so that you can get a really tight photo there for the paper. But they were standing under the rotunda outside the medical clinic there at the south entrance, which is one of the improvements that was implemented courtesy of previous fundraising from the Farm and Leisure Lotto. So one of those improvements that they sort of wanted to show off a little bit if they could, and I was like, yeah, hey, let's do it. And it worked out because, well, the day ended up being as rainy as it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had the opportunity to speak with them, and they didn't have anything in particular that they necessarily wanted to do with it.
Yep.
I mean, kind of same as me. If it was me, I'd just be like, it's going in savings, it'll help with bills. But it sounds like they're looking to do potentially some family vacations, which I mean, hey, that'll be quite a nice break for them for sure.
That's right. And again, that's what a part of this as well. These types of events, Farm and Leisure or the Neepawa Titans or any of these types of lotteries that go on, part of it is obviously about helping the community, helping your community clubs and organizations in some way, shape, or form. But another part of it is sort of when you're buying that ticket in your own sort of way, you're living the dream in your head. It's like, God, if I were able to win that, what would I do with it? Well, I think I'd do this, or maybe I'd go over here, or maybe I'd give these people this amount. It's that type of thing. And when you're able to do it as compared to, let's say, the lottery, just the 649 or the Western Lottery or anything like that, you also get that extra good feeling of being able to help your local causes, like the clinic, and again, like the hockey team. I use them as an example as well, that you're able to sort of do some good. Even if you don't end up winning the big ticket items, you end up still doing some good on a local level. And I think that's part of the reason why they're supported as well as they are on a consistent, regular basis. And it's nice to see. It really is. And congratulations to those who won. And again, have fun with it. I know I would.
Definitely. And that's a good point, actually, as well, that you touched on a little bit there. But the factor of it supporting the medical clinic, which, of course, not only benefits our community, but communities around us that maybe don't have their own services super close by. I mean, we're close enough to them that they're able to come here and get those services. But I was very pleased to see, and this isn't in the story, but both the Porak family and Phyllis as well have supported the lottery for a few years because they want to support the community in that way. So it was nice to see them come away with a win in terms of, having supported it for as long as they have, and just getting to come away with a little something of their own.
That's always a positive. You like to hear those ones that have committed and have been committed to it over an extended period of time, finally being able to come through on that. So once again, congratulations to them. But if you want to learn a little bit more about the lottery, the significance to Neepawa and to the surrounding areas, you can find that story. It's on page 2 of this week's edition of the Banner and Press. All right, let's shift over just slightly onto page 2 to another story we did. This one, Ken Waddell actually was able to put together for us. It is a short story about the new manager for the Yellowhead Center. Now, if you're a consistent and loyal reader of the Banner and Press, you might be thinking to yourself, wait a minute, didn't I just read this story a couple months ago? Well, yes, you did. And if you're a loyal and consistent reader of the Neepawa Banner and Press, you might be thinking, wait a minute, didn't I just read this story a year ago? Just over a year ago? Well, yes, you did. And if you are a really loyal and really consistent reader of the Banner and Press, you might be thinking back, wait a minute, didn't I read this story about 2.5, 3 years ago? You know where I'm going with this. Yes, you did. This new manager, is the fourth one that has been hired, fourth one that's been in that chair at that desk, I think within the last 3.5 years. Crystal Ranney is the new manager, the new general manager for the facility. So we were able to get a little bit of information from her, speak to her a little bit about the job, the decision to move into that position, and all that. You can get those details in the paper on page 2. I'm not going to delve too deeply into that. That's why this is the story behind the story. We're going to share with you some of the background details. We just find it fascinating, quite honestly. How come they can't keep somebody in that chair? I don't know. I wish I had a good answer for you. Everybody I've ever had any dealings with down at the Yellowhead, I've always had good dealings with everybody, and the board as well always seem to be sort of all pointing in the right direction of all that. Maybe it's the actual chair itself, Casper. There's not enough lower lumbar support, so they sit in it for a couple months. It's like, no, this is no good. I need something a little bit better, and they move on. They can just put a requisition in for the budget and get a better chair.
Maybe they need one of those fancy gamer chairs that Ken has in the office.
Oh, that's it. You get a fancy Yellowhead. Listen to me right now. You get one of those fancy gamer chairs, a couple of those fancy gamer chairs, and you got somebody in there, and it's set for life. You're good to go. You can focus on other things. All right. But again, congratulations to Crystal. We don't talk about everybody getting a job in every edition of the newspaper. There's certain jobs in Neepawa where it warrants a news story. And with a facility such as the Yellowhead Center, it definitely deserves to get some spotlight on that, because it is such a significant feature of Neepawa. It is such a unique feature for Neepawa in that it is completely and utterly volunteer operated, volunteer run. It gets a little bit of support from the town of Neepawa, about $103,000 a year. But in terms of the general operations of it, it's much more than that to keep that thing running. So they got to hustle. They got to find that extra. They got to do that little extra. So it's at times a thankless job. So it's wonderful to see, that they were even able to get people to come in and fill that position. So good on you. And even though it's the off season for the most part right now for the Yellowhead Center, there's still a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes to get ready for the quote-unquote busy time of the year in the fall and into the winter. So best of luck to Crystal in that position, and we will see you in 6 months when we write this story again. God, I hope not. I certainly do.
Yeah, I definitely, obviously joking aside and all that.
Oh, no, I'm serious. I do not want to write this story in 6 months.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise it's going to be something different. It's going to be what's wrong with the Yellowhead Center. Is there a curse on the grounds? Some sort of poltergeist thing?
I'll clarify. Previous joking aside, prior to that comment, obviously we understand that things happen with people. They need to change things up for whatever they're doing and pursue whatever is working for them based on their circumstances. But we do hope that the Yellowhead and Crystal can stay together for a good period of time there and do some good work going forward.
That's right. All right, let's shift over a little further into the newspaper. We talked about the significant financial stories we've got in this week's edition, talking about the Farm and Leisure Lottery and sort of those financials, the positive financials. Let's talk about this this story right here. Actually, I'm going to shift things up and talk very quickly first about the town of Neepawa. They most recently had a council meeting. Always remember to check your local listings, because if you can't be there in person to see it, and you still want to be informed on the details that affect you as a member of the town of Neepawa, always check out NACTV and your local listings. It is broadcast throughout the week when it's run, throughout the weeks afterwards in which it's run. And it's important. I've always stressed this. Municipal politics is the most important direct level of politics on a person, I believe. It has the most direct impact on you and me on a daily basis. And this is a good example of it, because they finalized their financial plan, they finalized their budget for 2024, leading into 2025. It gave second and third reading on Tuesday, and it has been passed, and it will be moving forward. I'm not going to bore you to an extreme degree with the numbers there. It comes down to the operating expenditures, the utility capital purchases. It's millions of dollars here, millions of dollars there. So what does it mean for you, and what does it mean for me? That's all that really matters on a consistent, regular basis. The money that's coming out of your purse, money that is coming out of your wallet, and the money that is coming out of your pocket. So when it breaks down to that, if you're a property owner, if you're a ratepayer in the town of Neepawa, it's going to be a 2.1% increase in the property taxes. Nobody likes to pay more in the grand scheme of things. We all know that, but you always got to put it in perspective. And I tried to put this into perspective. The annual rate of inflation, the rate of inflation for Canada in March was 2.9%. So it's actually an increase less than the rate of inflation. You're going to be spending more on your groceries. You're going to be spending more on your gas. And on average, you're going to be spending on your property taxes here. Keep that in mind. And when it comes down to per $100,000, look at it this way. It comes out to about an extra $17.62 per $100,000 of your property, of your home, of your whatever it may be. It comes down to a Big Mac meal nowadays. You can't buy one Big Mac meal for the year. And again, remember that, for the year. Or actually, most properties don't have $100,000 exactly. So if it's $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, you can't buy, do without a Big Mac meal every other month, and you're good to go. Again, but I understand. Having said that, we want to feel as though when we're paying our property taxes, they are going towards the right things. And there's been a few comments from a few people in the town of Neepawa that have felt a little frustrated with the infrastructure of it. It's understandable. The town of Neepawa is just as frustrated about that stuff as well. They're putting some money aside for road repairs and upgrades, and hopefully we'll be able to see those types of upgrades sooner rather than later. But there's other big money projects they've got to work on as well. One of the biggest is the water and sewer and the infrastructure going in for the new development over by the location of the new hospital. Neepawa is a growing community. They've got to put money into those types of things. So they really want to be able to take care of everything. In a perfect world, every road is smooth and perfect and pristine, and all the water and sewer is looked after, and everything's taken care of. But that's going to cost a little extra money. It's a fine balance between making sure everything's looked after and making sure you're not getting overly taxed on this level. So 2.1% sounds like maybe you're not a fan of it. But look at it this way. Like I've said many a time, just look down the road to Brandon. I think it was 9.8% increase to their taxes this year. It's going to be about a 10.2% increase for them again next year. That's not just hearsay. That's confirmed. It's confirmed they're going to be increasing in almost 20% in their property taxes in a 2-year period. And I got friends and I got family that live in Brandon. And let me tell you something, they are not happy about it because they feel like they're getting overtaxed right now and they're not seeing the results. So hopefully we'll find the results here. But again, that's my 2 cents worth, And again, Casper, let me throw to you here. I've been meandering on along this long enough. Let me get your take on all of this.
Oh, I don't think I have a whole lot to really add, but definitely pleased to see that the parking lot for the fire department, the new building up there, is going to be paved now, because I know that's been sort of on the project list for a while after the new building has been completed.
Yeah.
A few years ago now, I think,
and
right?
operational for about 3-4 years now.
Yeah. So it's nice that that's going to be getting done as well. And the comments that we've heard from people wanting to make sure that everything is being upkept very well. I mean, I certainly am getting to the point where I'm like, one of those, I admit, because I mean, you're going out and about and you see, how the roads are at the moment, and even some sidewalks as well could use some work on them. So I'm glad that there's definitely some money set aside in terms of repairing that stuff as well, because that is definitely, at least in terms of the roads, it's definitely a hazard when you're driving, trying to avoid those, because it can damage your vehicle, et cetera, et cetera. And when it comes to those areas and then the sidewalks as well, it is definitely an accessibility issue. I mean, if you have a scooter that you need to use, a wheelchair, a walker, etc.,
or
it
just
definitely
generally,
makes
generally even walking.
Yeah. It is a hazard. So you want to make sure that those areas are kept up to level and are maintained well, so that not only does the community look nice, but you're keeping it accessible and safe for everybody as well.
That's right. All right, let's shift gears now. We talked a little bit about some of that investment that is going towards the new development near the hospital. There was also some development that was planned for that area as well that some people are starting to get a little worried about. And I talk about the planned new vocational high school that had been announced in and around this time last year, maybe even about 13 months ago. It was announced by the prior provincial government that there were going to be 9 schools that were going to be put up throughout Manitoba, and Beautiful Plains School Division was getting one of them, the vocational high school. But then the fall election occurred, and that was thrown into a degree of disarray because the NDP government said they didn't like the plan. They weren't very happy with the plan that the PC government had put forward to put these schools out there and to put them into these communities. So they wanted to review it and revise it. And that's what they've done. The NDP ended up winning the election. The NDP is now in power, and they have said this plan that they came up with, it's known as a P3 model. If you read the story, I do a brief explanation on what the P3 model is all about to give you that little sense of what's being changed here. They said, we don't like it. We don't like it at all. We're going to review this. We're going to take a different approach to it and maybe go back to the standard structured way of doing it as a government. So they're doing a review of it. So the plan for 2027 for these schools to be up and operational and in place has been thrown for a loop right now. And the interesting thing is, some people in the community believe it has been canceled altogether. So I went to the source, spoke with Jason Young, the superintendent, the Beautiful Plains School Division, and just asked straight up. I mean, we're hearing it in the coffee shops, we're hearing it all over. Some people are saying it's done, some people are saying it's a non-existent entity now, and Jason wanted to say no. Every indication I've had from the province, every talk, every discussion, every email from the province has indicated we are still committed to putting this new school in Neepawa. We understand there is a need, and we are not deviating from that. What they are changing is how it's going to be done. So it's not the answer maybe we wanted to hear. Maybe we wanted to be able to have that school guaranteed and up and operational by 2027, but it's still on its way. And it's still desperately needed. So you can find that story. It's in this week's edition of the Banner Press. I got to refresh my memory to see what page I put it on. I put that one on page 6, right next to Helen's recipe, because I know Helen's recipe is very popular. So I made sure to put it in a prime time spot in the newspaper. That's one of those little behind the scene things as well. We have certain prime time spots, prime time pages where we like to put our stories because they're going to get the most traction out of it, and that is actually one of them. So I hope you'll take a moment or two to read up on that and get the latest on there. So again, like I said, Casper, I mean, I'm out of school, you're out of school, but we got to think of the next generations moving ahead. So
yeah, for sure. And I mean, we've talked about it before. With the Neepawa Middle School going up and things being a bit more distributed between the different facilities there, it filled up really fast. So, I mean, having new schools to accommodate for the growing population and the growing student population in particular is very important. So I can definitely understand people being worried about the project. But I hopefully take some solace in finding out that no, the project isn't in the ground, as it were. It's just on ice. It's been put aside for a little bit. Things are getting adjusted, and it is still being planned for to go up in the future, which, although it's not perhaps ideal as we'd like it to be, it is still going forward, which is, I mean, that'll be a benefit to the community for whenever we're able to get it in.
And again, Lord willing, we will have the school up and operational and in place just in time for these next youngsters to be able to actually walk through the doors. And we're talking about a couple pictures that, Casper, you were able to get earlier this week, or late last week, if I remember, sometime within the last 7 days, from the Neepawa Middle School operetta. Wow. So talk to us a little bit about that, all that fun and festivities.
Right. So every year the grade 5s have the operetta there, and they hold it at the Roxy Theatre. They put on a nice performance there. They have dress rehearsals throughout the day, I believe, and then they do sort of their official performances, as it were, in the evenings. This year that was on May 1st and May 2nd. And I had the opportunity to go in for one of the performances, the May 1st performance, and take a few photos and see a little bit of their performance while I was there. They did a good job, and it looks like they had a lot of fun with it. They did a pirate-based performance this year called Pirates. And I mean, yeah, it looked like it was a great time. Everybody got into their roles and had fun while playing out the story and going on an adventure with that.
Well, it is really fun. It's really just so brave of the youngsters as well to get up on the stage and to perform like that. Because some people get a little bit of anxiety when it comes to public speaking or anything along those lines. I think one of the most prevalent sort of fears for most people is public speaking. I know for a fact my older brother, hates public speaking. And when I say hates public speaking, like even to like a half dozen people in a boardroom type thing. But it sounds like for these youngsters, that's not an issue for them. So more power to them on that. And from the bits and pieces I've heard, not just from Casper, but from others, family and friends that attended those, it really went over well. So congratulations to the kids on a great performance.
One little aside, I do want to just add real quick, a sort of a behind the scenes thing here. But when I attended there, I didn't look at the cast list right away. So during the performance, I heard them talking about the King of the High Seas and all that. And then I come back to the office the next day and I look at the cast list and I'm like, oh, King of the High Seas, like capital C, as in like singing note C. I was like, oh my God. Oh, it was good though.
Oh, they got puns for days, these youngsters, this new generation, don't they? All right. Now, we only got a few minutes left, and there's still so much more we could share with you. We could talk about. We're not even going to be able to get into the start of the Santa Clara Baseball League, that new season of baseball. The Senior AA circuit for Western Manitoba is about to start off. Couldn't even talk to you about that. We couldn't even share with you the results of the Neepawa Ballers Winter Basketball League. The senior and the junior divisions had their championships, and we were able to get some pictures from that. So, and maybe you watched it live right here on NAC TV when it was broadcast. We couldn't talk to you about our special home and garden feature, a center spread that we're doing over the next few weeks, sharing with you some good ideas and some innovative concepts about turning your home, your lawn, your garden, anything along those lines into something you're going to be immensely proud of. So that's why you always got to remember, and you always got to pick up a copy of the paper. As we say each and every week, you can find it anywhere in 30 different locations across Western Manitoba or on mywestman.ca. And again, if you ever have any story suggestions for us, we always appreciate that too. You can get in touch with us at news@neepawabanner.com or give us a call at 476-3401. Again, that's 476-3401. So pretty much that wraps it up for us for this week. For Casper, good to have you in again this week. Thank you.
Yeah, good to be in once again and looking forward to the next one.
And thank you. And we'll see you next week on The Story Behind the Stories.